think the environment has become...
What we're saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be bigoted about videos. I'm fine with that.
What's wrong with Singaporeans?
What we would like to discuss in greater detail are the activities surrounding prostitution and the abuse that is allowed to happen. And the first, I think the most high-profile one would be underage sex, where there was a very high-profile case where more than 40 or 50 men were all put into prison for having sex with an underage girl, and ignorance was not an acceptable excuse. I want to start with Shu Hui, because you have worked with prostitutes directly.
We help the Singaporean. So most of them, they actually has a criminal record. And some of them was sex abuse also among their own people. So for me to see the underage is not by their own choice. They're in that kind of environment that they cannot ask for help. And for us to, right now we helping them is like to try to help them to know that they are possible, they can change their life, be able to come up with this persecution under this environment with their family members, or the society, the people cannot give them a second chance.
Can you share with us perhaps some examples of girls that were forced into becoming underage prostitutes?
Okay, as some is like third generation, because grandma and the mother, and then she's a third generation
Prostitute.
So she was thrown into the room when she was 13, and she had no choice. So all her life, she's 31 now, and she's still in the Geylang Street.
How about in your work, Rema, Timothy, or Salima? Have you any examples?
I just want to raise a point that you mentioned about the case about the underage lady, the underage girl. What was shocking when it happened for me was the insult that was hurled at her. And here, I think in this case, we as society have to take responsibility. In this situation where it was reported in the paper that she had, worked at the social escort because she wanted to buy designer goods.
I think I really do not know what drove this girl to start the whole thing, or how she got entangled in the whole thing. But I put the pimp right in the center. A very intelligent guy who knew what he was doing, who was out to make as much money as possible, and he had a network of well-to-do friends and whatever have you not. And that is how many of them came in. And yes, I agree that the internet, the comments were really, they were targeting her because she's 17 and a half. And that they had asked her or whatever for the age. But what many have actually forgotten in that whole process is that most of the men, yes, there were some men in their late 20s, most of the men were in their 40s. And we have, this incident actually we need to really analyze it more closely. What is going on in our society when success comes in for, let's say, the men? Does success then mean that I get my house, my car, etc., and that I also need my women? Do my women then have to be younger the better? Should it be a variety? Should it be from different experiences? This is what is going on in some spaces in Singapore. So hers is, I think, the trigger on which we need to look at more at how our society is really responding. That's why this whole area that you're discussing, and I'm glad that this discussion is taking place, I think is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing in Singapore. Yes, we have gambling, etc., but we also know, and it was debated in Parliament when I was there, that with gambling you will have other vices also coming in. So our level,
prostitution increased when gambling.
Sophisticated levels. We are not going to see them in Geylang. We're not going to see them. It's sophisticated levels. What kind of levels of fun? I do not know.
So how do you propose we address this problem?
I think
What
one
should
of it.
society
Okay,
do?
one of it is that we need to talk about this more openly in our school system. Gender structures, gender power, sex. What does paid sex really mean in our world today?
Do you think
right?
knowledge of prostitution will help prevent it?
Not only knowledge, the whole discussion around prostitution. Like when you were talking about 3 generation, the literature that one reads, like in Calcutta, it is 3 generation, 4, 5.
Yep.
They have a network that takes care of everybody. Sometimes the women are so good, they know how to form like a little support network that will keep the man in his place. That is how, that's survival, because what other work is there, for example. In Singapore, are we at that stage? That's the big question. Compensatory sex is, I don't even know whether it's just young girls or young women, because
Okay,
there are many
compensatory
levels.
sex again is not for money but for gifts and all
Yes,
that.
and
Okay. Giving
but
sex in
coupled,
exchange for
yeah,
gifts.
but coupled with compensatory sex, I think sexual grooming is also going on.
Yes.
I can groom you, and the gifts, the stuff I give you are gifts, so that is already a compensatory action that is going on. So if we want to unpick all this, we really need to go deeper with especially our older teenagers, the 14 and
Yes.
above in the
Yes,
school
I agree.
system.
To make them
Yeah?
aware, to
Yes.
make them
Yes.
aware
Make them
of the
aware.
dangers of
Aware
people who want
and
to groom them.
talk, open it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
We are not opening up most
Yeah,
of
right.
the time.
Opening
I
it
feel.
up, won't it also give them an understanding that if they like it, they might be able to take advantage of it?
It depends on who drives your narrative, right? So if your state wants to drive your narrative, and if your state has an interest in building a moral society that is premised on values and keeping things together, then the way it imputes this knowledge about sexual services or the sex industry will be necessarily skewed to value certain things over others, right? So if I were to teach in a Singapore where we were going to teach in the education system what trafficking entails or what sexual grooming entails, it's not going to have a neutral stance or slant.
Have we arrived at that position
Oh,
where
no.
we can talk about it freely with school children?
No, I don't think so.
What do you
Nope.
laugh?
No.
I laugh because I think that there are some wonderful teachers who do go further. It's not consistently directed or played out in the schools, and I think
But it is, in
there
some
is
schools do it.
sexuality education going
Okay.
on, but to what extent are these discussed in a way that we suspend judgment, that we don't bring immediately the thou shall not, because the kids are not at a, when we call them kids already, they're going to get annoyed. The teenagers are not at that stage to deal with the thou shall not. They want the issue to be talked about. They want to be, you have to take them through an argument. Explain to me, why is it so problematic? I do it for about 2 years. That's it. I take care of myself. I protect myself. I will not get pregnant. And I get what I want. I can leave home. Some of them will tell you, I want to leave home. So what are we going to do? We need to really engage with the younger lot at this level. I mean, for me, I'm very curious about the 17 and a half. What was really her motivation? And when we focus on her so much, we forget there was another girl, 15-year-old from Vietnam. That is a clear case of trafficking. And the men who really sought her services are in the 40s. I think the last one I read was in the late 40s and 50s. I mean, I can't imagine that our men cannot really figure out, okay, I do not know whether you're 16 or 17 or 18, that you cannot figure out the possibility of this person being a young girl is very
It is
high.
difficult, right? I mean,
Really.
to say that
Makeup
you
and
look
all,
17,
yeah.
you look 18. How are you going to be able to tell
Of
that?
course,
You
it's
can't.
very difficult.
There was a few years ago, I've done a survey where we asked the girls who are working in the prostitution industry, were they ever asked for the age? Not a single one of them said yes. They would never ask for the age.
Ignorance.
So it's for the client, ignorance is bliss. I'd rather not ask for the age.